everyone. My name is Mrs. Obsosnik, and welcome to AP Stats. I do want to take today just to talk a little bit about the course and talk about Schoology and just how things are going to work this year, starting off with virtual instruction. So when you log into Schoology, you will click on your AP Stats course. And when you do that, you'll see a page that looks similar to what I have here. I'm just in teacher view and you're going to be in student view. So you'll see a banner here just with my name and course title. And then all of these other graphics are actually buttons that will take you to specific items that you'll need throughout the course of the year. So course information we'll take a look at shortly. That's where your syllabus is. And then there's some other kind of important documents in there that we'll get to in the first couple of weeks. This other button here is AP Classroom. That's going to link you to the College Board's website for AP, and we'll be using that later this year. Probably within the first few weeks, I'll have you guys get registered. That's where you will pay for and register for your AP test if you choose to take it. There are practice materials in there, so a lot of good resources, and we'll get there soon. This banner here, if you click on it, will open up a Google Doc that'll show you the schedule for the week, and we're actually going to do that in just a few minutes so I can walk you through your textbook website. Underneath here, you have some other options of ways to get your materials for the class. So current unit, we're going to start with Chapter 1, so all of your stuff for Chapter 1 will be there. When we finish Chapter 1, that content is going to get moved down here to previous units. So it'll stay there for the duration of the year. It's just going to be archived in that previous units button. We have vocabulary here. You will find that statistics is a little different from other math classes that you may have taken in the past, where it's almost kind of a little bit more science related. So you have data and numbers, and then you're going to interpret that data. And so we do have a lot more vocab than you're probably traditionally used to seeing in a math class. The Notes tab here, you're going to see a couple of folders within Notes. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this real quick just to show you what you're going to see. You're going to see all of the video notes. So if you're an asynchronous day, you'll get the video for that day there. PowerPoint slides, if you want to download those or look through those are all located here. And then there are optional note-taking guides. So when I go through the videos with you, primarily it's going to be corresponding directly to these PowerPoints that are here. And if you want to use a note-taking guide, you can. If you are better off taking notes in your notebook, or if you want to download a copy of the PowerPoint and take notes below the slides, you can do that, whatever method works best to you, but those are there for you if you'd like. Okay, going back to that main page here. Activities is going to have links to maybe any labs that we do or class worksheets. All of those things will be in that activities button. I do want to make note that everything's going to be linked that you need for the week in this week's work. So if you never use these buttons here, that's absolutely fine. If you just come in, you click on this week's work, you pull up that Google Doc, it will have all of your tasks for the week and links to the appropriate assignments or documents that you need. And then if I scroll down, this is just going to show you everything in folder form. So if you're more comfortable looking at things that way, then you can go right ahead. I do want to show you here real quick, if you are opening Schoology through the app, so if you're using your cell phone or a tablet, it does load a little bit differently. So this is our course page for AP Stats that I pulled up on my iPhone and took a screenshot. So you can see that it looks very different from what I just showed you. I tried to make it a little easier for you here by linking this week's work right at the top. So you're not seeing all those fancy buttons that I have on the web-based version. But if you come in and you click right on this week's work, it's going to take you to that same Google Doc, and then you'll have that breakdown that I was talking about that we'll take a look at in just a few minutes. Okay, so I do want to talk about your course information here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up your syllabus. Okay, so some of the stuff in the syllabus is going to relate to how things would be if we were in the physical classroom space. So just kind of keep that in mind. I left it in there just because hopefully we will be returning to the classroom at some point this year. Course goals here. The big ones are really just to treat this like a college statistics class and prep you for the AP exam or the possibility of getting PIT credit, which we'll talk about in the next week or so as well. We also want to make sure that you're just comfortable with reading statistics in the real world. So if you're reading something that's published in the newspaper or online, what is it really telling you, and how did they come up with those results, or are those results really valid? So those are things that we're going to be looking at in this course as well. You also will need a graphing calculator for this class, TI-83 Plus or TI-84 calculator. You won't need it for the first week or so. So if you want to kind of start to shop around or order on Amazon, anything from the TI-84 family is appropriate. So there's like a TI-84, 84 Plus, 84 CE, I think is the newest one for color edition. So anything there is fine. If you find a calculator that you're looking to purchase, but you're uncertain as to whether or not it's appropriate, you can either take a picture of the calculator or you can send me a link, and then I can let you know whether or not that would be an appropriate calculator for this course. If you absolutely can't get a graphing calculator, there are some web-based options that we'll be looking at throughout the course of the year as alternatives. If you're planning on taking the AP exam, you're not going to be able to use those web-based options, and they don't function in the exact same way as the graphing calculator does. So I encourage you, especially if you're taking the AP exam or for PIT credit, to get that graphing calculator so that you're comfortable with it come time for the AP test or PIT tests. It's not something that you're going to use once or twice and be done with. Once we start using it in this course, we're pretty much going to use it every day. So it is something that you will get the use out of. Okay, as far as our expectations go, you're going to treat this like a college level course. You can get AP credit, or college credit, I should say, by taking the AP exam or by registering for PIT credit. And we'll talk about all of those options in the next week or so, but we are going to treat it like a college level course because technically it is one. Make sure that you're participating in class. So, in the classroom, maybe that's a little bit easier, but hopefully we will find ways to get you guys participating and actively engaging in discussions in our virtual classrooms as well. And then make sure that you are utilizing your textbook. Your textbook is a great resource, and it really does a good job at modeling how things are expected to be on the AP exam. So if you utilize your textbook and you really take a look at the details that we go through in the notes in class, that's really going to prepare you for that AP exam. And then just make sure you ask for help if you need it. As far as asking for help goes, you can do that in a couple of ways this year. So we will be meeting synchronously 2 days a week, and you can save your questions for those synchronous meetings if you're more comfortable. Or if you know it's Thursday and you're not going to have another synchronous meeting until next week, you can send me your questions through email as well. If you're actually writing out problems on paper and you're stuck somewhere, you can just take a picture of it and send it and say where you're stuck. And then I can either send you a video explanation or I can write things out for you. So we'll work through those through email just as we would in the actual classroom. If we're in a synchronous meeting, I can turn the camera towards the whiteboard and just work problems out there like we would in the regular classroom. So there are lots of ways for you to get help if you need it. As far as your materials go, like I said, that graphing calculator, not required, but really strongly recommended for you. And then I also really recommend a 3-ring binder. I guess this year, maybe a 3-ring binder if you're not printing stuff out wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. If you're somebody that likes to print out your worksheets and do the work on them, I would say a 3-ring binder so you can kind of store everything that way. If you're going to keep everything digital, then obviously you wouldn't need a binder to store your stuff. Just some way of organizing your folders maybe for the course. Okay, as far as grading goes, there are several different grading categories that you'll have that you can read about here. You will have 4 PIT tests in this course. One of them will be the final exam, and then one is about every 9 weeks. I can't say that it's going to be exactly at the 9 weeks end, but it's kind of at equal chunks throughout the course of the year. So after chapter 4, there's going to be a PIT test. And then I think the next one's after chapter 7, there's another PIT test. So cumulative exams after each section of the textbook. Chapter tests at the end of each chapter. These are going to model what you would see on the AP exam. So you're going to have some multiple choice questions and free response. We'll talk about the format of the AP exam in a few weeks when we start to talk about registration. And then as far as homework goes, your homework, you're going to take a picture of your work or scan your work and then submit it through Schoology. And then I have everything set to be due by 7:30 the next morning. So by the beginning of the next school day, you'll submit that homework. And then we go over it right away. So whether it be an asynchronous day and I send you the answers, or we go over the answers in our virtual meeting, because we're going over that homework right away, late work's not accepted. So just make sure that you pay attention to those guidelines on due dates and times and get that submitted. Quizzes you're going to know about in advance. Those are, again, a mix of multiple choice and open-ended. And then in-class assignments and projects, I try to throw some of those in there just to make things a little more fun and interesting, get you guys participating. And then as far as makeup work goes, if you are absent from class because you're sick or whatever the case might be, you have that number of days to complete that makeup work. Let's see, cell phones and electronic devices. This really only refers to if we were in the classroom setting and maybe we're taking a test, then all cell phones and electronic devices have to be away while that test is being taken. And then for Schoology, everything's going to be shared through Schoology. I kind of just walked you through that. And then we do have this PIT credit option here. You can read about it briefly for now, or we're going to talk about that PIT credit option within probably the next week, because then you'll start to have to decide if that option is for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to course resources. There are a few other documents in here that you may be interested in, but we'll hold off and talk about them in more detail as they are applicable. Just an info sheet about the college credit options and calculator information. You can take a look at the calculator information now if you'd like. College credit options we will be discussing, like I said, very soon. The formula sheet you don't have to worry about yet, but that is something that you will want to be comfortable with when we get there. And then if you aren't going to purchase a graphing calculator and you have an Android device, this graphing calculator substitute, we'll talk about how you can get a calculator emulator on your Android cell phone. And then if you aren't getting a graphing calculator because you're not planning on taking the AP exam or the PIT credit and you just don't think you need one, you can get away with using these two websites here. And I'll show you how to use those throughout the course of the year to kind of substitute that calculator. Okay, so if I go back to our course page, I do want to show you our video conference link. Okay, so we're going to do all of our synchronous learning through WebEx. So if I click here on WebEx, this will take you to the page that you're going to go to in order to join our synchronous classes. So when it loads, you're going to click on virtual meetings. And then yours will look slightly different than this one because, again, you're not going to be the host. But if you see down here, I have our first meeting set up. And this is for first period, so it has it starting at 7:35. Obviously, if you're in a different class period, you would go by that class period start time. And then yours is going to say join. So you would just hit join, and then it's going to ask you to pull it up in a web browser. Or if you are on a PC or a MacBook, you can download the app for WebEx, and then it'll open in the app instead of in the web browser. But I don't think the WebEx app works with Chromebooks. So the only other thing that I want to talk to you about here is your textbook website. So let me go ahead back. So if I go into the this week's work link, like I said, it's going to open up a Google Doc for you. And it's going to show you what we're doing each day of the week. So you can see, like here, we just did our Schoology overview. Online textbook here, and then I'm going to have you guys do a Flipgrid just to get to know your classmates. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But everything's going to be linked. So if I go ahead and I open this link, whoops, for the online textbook, it's going to take you here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to the student sign-in section, and you're going to go to Find a Launchpad course. And it should have your textbook up here. If it doesn't show this, the Practice of Statistics 4th edition, and you need to search for it, that's what you're looking for. It has flamingos on it. And then you're not going to search for me or the school because I don't have another site set up here for you. You're going to go to Need an Instructor List course, and then join instructor list Launchpad. And then when you do that, you'll go into this student's create account. So you'll go ahead and you'll create an account. You do need to make sure that you remember your username and password. I don't have access to that to retrieve it for you. And if you use your BP Hawks email address, this is an outside source. So when you go to try and reset your password, it's not going to ever get to you because it's going to be blocked by the BP Hawks domain. So just make sure that if you're using BP Hawks especially, write that username and password down or save it in your Chromebook so that you have access to this book for the course of the year. So you'll go ahead through, you'll create your account, and then I don't think it's going to let me go to the next screen since I didn't put anything in. It's going to ask you for a textbook access code. Your code is unique, and let's see if I can find here. Here we go, textbook access codes. You guys have an assignment, and I created an assignment specifically for each one of you. So you can see I have a bunch here. But like I said, you're going to use the attached access code. When you open it up, it will give you a code. You can copy and paste it right in there for your access code. Don't share it with any other students, because if you're both using the same access code, you lock each other out of the book. So just be really careful with that. If you have trouble either setting up your book, or if it tells you that you have a denied access code, send me an email and we'll figure that out. There is a good chance that I maybe mistyped somebody's access code because I was typing them all in for each of you individually. So if that happens and you can't get in, just reach out to me, because we are going to start using your textbook tomorrow. Okay, so that's all I really have for you today. I am going to link that Flipgrid to this week's work as well. So your tasks for today, before you have class tomorrow, will be to complete that Flipgrid, and then also make sure you can access that online book. And like I said, if you have issues with anything, just let me know through email.